and welcome to a Texas Panhandle celebration of World Refugee Day. I'm Karen Welch. 2 decades ago, the United Nations General Assembly designated this day each year to commemorate the resilience and courage of refugees around the world. Refugees are people forced to flee their country because of persecution, war, or violence. In 2018, the world witnessed displacement at unprecedented levels. Almost 30 million refugees left their homelands. Half were under the age of 18. Joining me now are Dr. Ryan Pennington of the Refugee Language Project and Pastor Sergis, who came to the U.S. from Burundi. Ryan, tell me a little bit about the Refugee Language Project.
The Refugee Language Project was founded here in Amarillo in 2017. We are focused on removing language barriers, building leaders, and cultivating community among refugees of the Texas Panhandle. What that means in practice is that we have spent a lot of time studying the refugee networks here in Amarillo, understanding and listening. And as we have identified the leaders of those communities and sub-communities, we give those people an inordinate amount of time. And as we build relationships with those men and women, we learn what their real needs are. For example, we are now offering a Somali literacy class focused only on women because the Somali community asked for that. We also have a face-to-face mentorship program where we connect people into one-on-one relationships. But the premise is to identify the leaders and build stronger leaders in this community.
It sounds wonderful. Tell me, where do the refugees who come here come from?
The refugees in Amarillo come from all over the world. Over 50% over the last decade have come from Myanmar or Burma. That can be divided between especially the Karen and Chin ethnicities. We also have many people from the continent of Africa, from Somalia, South Sudan, North Sudan, Congo, Burundi. And then we also have a number of people from the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Iran. Now, previously, we had a number of waves of immigrants coming in from places like Vietnam and Laos as well.
So tell me, what kind of jobs did they do in their home countries, and what kind of work did they find here?
Yeah, so one thing that's been really interesting as we have gotten to know these refugee communities over the last year, we've hosted a number of dialogues with each of several refugee communities, and we've asked questions like this one. What did you do back home for income? Compare that to what do you do now here? And what we learned is that back home, a huge number of people were farmers, raising livestock or crops. And it was also really salient, really common mention that they were small business owners, okay? But here in Amarillo, many of them are working at meatpacking plants. Now, they're grateful for these jobs, and they work them diligently for decades. However, there is a whole host of expressions, a whole host of skills that they have, that they brought with them, cultural skills that they want to be able to use here. And so we've identified that one gap here in Amarillo is that a number of refugee communities need help starting new businesses. A second important gap is that they need a community center or multiple community centers that serve as a place for them to come and interact with the community at large. Because this city, sometimes we work and we go back to our own homes, and we need a place where people can come together and learn from one another.
Looking forward to a project with that. Sergis, tell me first where you came from and about your experiences immigrating to.
Thank you, Karen. I came from Burundi, and my first experience from Burundi was really exciting first, and at a certain point when it's approaching to departure from Burundi to US, kind of nervous because we don't know what it's gonna look like, and we have to travel 30 hours or more. And as we're traveling, we get confused. We get at the destination when we are totally lost.
How can we help refugees feel more welcome?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the question, because when you ask me how can you help, someone who is lost needs encouragement, love, and needs also an approach, a positive approach that, help him or her to feel, oh, I am not lost. I am home like I used to be.
Are you enjoying your experience here?
Oh yeah, I do. I am very enjoying, especially when I have people that have a positive attitude. They needed to know who am I, why I came from there, what are we doing. So I'm so happy that we have many around here in the community that they help a lot of people from the community.
Thank you. Thank you
too.
both for being here.
Thank you.
Like Surgis, Ahmad Ali found a home in the United States and eventually Amarillo. He sat down for an interview with Ryan.
Omar, thanks for joining me today. I'm happy to get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you.
I'd like to start by having you just tell me your full name.
My full name is Ahmed A. Ali. I'm an immigrant from Somalia.
From Somalia.
Yeah, the war-torn country.
What part of Somalia are you from?
From the south, Kismayo.
How long ago did America become your home?
I think it was 16 years ago.
16 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been living in Cairo, and always I had in my mind, I had a vision that one day I will be in America. So I went to a place they teach English. It was a church. They called St. Andrew's United Church. I went there, I learned English. I didn't know English before that, zero English.
Can you tell me some about your family?
We are a family of 10 now.
Wow, 10.
Yes. I have 7 daughters and a big boy. You know me, I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'm busy at home. When I go to the business, I'm busy.
What is it that you do for a living?
I do have a grocery. I do have a grocery. My wife started the business first from a small clothing thing, and we made it a grocery store. It was a little bit tough to start it. Then after that, we successfully opened that business. Not only a business, it was an opportunity for my community to get help too, because we don't have a place that they can go and get help. When they need to apply a job, they need somebody to help them. When they need immigration papers, somebody to help them. I am here to help them. So it was a place for me, for my community. That's where I started.
And I've spent many hours in your store, drinking tea, listening to the Somali language. It is definitely a focal spot for the Somali community to gather, isn't it?
Together, yes. We don't have a community center that open for them, to help them. We don't have that gap. So we get the gap. When we get the gap, the people feel like they don't have help. And a lot of them move out of Amarillo because they don't have a help that they needed.
If I ask people around the Somali community, what is something you are proud of? What is something that the Somali people are known for? What are they really good at? What would you say?
Entrepreneur. Somalis are entrepreneur.
Entrepreneurs?
Yes, we love to do business. Whether you are in Minneapolis, in Seattle, in London, in Melbourne, in Sydney, or in Johannesburg, or in Nairobi, or even in Addis Ababa, Somalis are entrepreneurs. We love to be independent.
You started your own business, and even recently, last year, you bought your own house. Is that right?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was the big step that I've been thinking about it. First, you have to make a family. Then making a family with a lot of children, living in an apartment, that was my miserable situation. I was thinking to get out of apartments and to get my own house to be independent. I think that is the big step that anybody can make to buy a house. For me, America, it was my country that I was thinking about it. Then I got the strength that they said, America is your homeland, not Somalia no more. Let's put Somalia aside now, and let's think how to be an American. And I told a lot of people that trying to buy a home in Africa, I tell them, where you guys live? The answer is always United States. So I asked them, why you don't live in America then? Which I mean, why you don't buy a house in here, not in Africa? It doesn't make sense for me to buy a house in Africa or build a house in Nairobi and live in an apartment in Texas.
So they're still living straddled between two worlds.
Two worlds, and that is not going to be good for you, for anybody. You have to decide which way you're going to go. Then you're going to succeed from there. We are American. We have American kids. We live in Texas. We are Texans now.
Well, Omar, I just want to thank you for spending some time with me and helping me to celebrate the Somali culture and teach about the rich heritage here that's being carried out right in front of our eyes here in Amarillo. And we're just so glad that you have chosen to call Amarillo your home. I really am. Thank you.
On behalf of the Somali community, Dr. Ryan, I want to thank you. And not only the Somali community, on behalf of all the immigrants and refugees that come to this city, I want to thank you.
It's so great to see Omar is deepening his roots in Amarillo. Joining me now are Russ Pennington of Bethesda Outreach Center and Haley Karachuk of the Amarillo Symphony. Thank you for being here. Russ, Panhandle PBS is so excited to be a part of this event. Tell us how it came together.
Well, Karen, I work with refugees at Trinity Fellowship Church, and Haley had come and contacted me saying, you know, the symphony wanted to do something to connect with refugees in our community. So we talked about a few ideas, and the one we landed on was doing something on World Refugee Day, which is June 20th. And so we talked about actually having an outdoor concert with the symphony over in Eastridge, where a lot of the refugees live. And so we're making plans towards that. And then, of course, with COVID-19, we decided probably wouldn't be a good idea to have a big event at this time. But as we talked about our vision, which is really to honor the refugees of our community and connect people from Amarillo with refugees in a positive way and help them see the contributions they bring, we decided that an online format would be a perfect way to accomplish that. And we really believe that the refugees bring so much to our culture and to Amarillo. I love going to the various restaurants they have over by Bethesda. And so we believe they bring their best, and we wanted to bring our best. And we feel like the symphony is one of the best parts of Amarillo. So we were really excited to partner with the Amarillo Symphony and just celebrate refugees today.
Haley, why did the Amarillo Symphony want to get involved?
Well, we really believe that music is for everybody. And we want to realize that vision. This is one step along that journey. How can we connect to this community, which is a part of Amarillo? And so that's why I was visiting with Russ and looking at different ideas for this.
So tell me a little bit about the piece we're going to listen to.
So this piece is a string quartet played by members of the Amarillo Symphony, and it's a piece by Antonín Dvořák. And Dvořák was a Czech composer living and working in the 19th century. He visited America. He was fascinated by America, this ideal that he had of these open spaces, discovery, new frontiers, this expanse of land, and he poured that into his music. And so the quartet will be playing today a string quartet nicknamed the American. I want to give a special thanks to two of our very generous sponsors who are making this part of the show possible. And those sponsors are the O'Brien Foundation for Academic Excellence and Mary Emeny. So thank you so much.
Well, thank them. Ladies and gentlemen, the Amarillo Symphony Quartet. Thanks to the quartet for such beautiful music. Next, Russ talks with Jeff Gouldy of Catholic Charities of the Texas Panhandle and Andrea Solis of the Amarillo Office of Refugee Services of Texas. Their agencies help refugees resettle in our area. And later in the show, you'll meet a refugee who immigrated from Thailand nearly 20 years ago.
All right, today we're here with Jeff Gouldy. He's the Executive Director of Catholic Charities, and Andrea Solis. She's the Area Director of Refugee Services, and these are the two organizations that help settle refugees here in Amarillo, Texas. And Jeff, I wanted to start with you. Could you tell us a little about the reasons that refugees flee their home countries and end up in a place like Amarillo?
Russ, I'm happy to. So refugees are fleeing their home country, and I emphasize home country. They are leaving a place because of persecution, or civil war, genocide. They have no choice. If they don't go, they will die. Many of them in both our organizations that work for us have seen family members slain before them, so this truly is a no-choice option. They have to go somewhere safe, and that somewhere safe is a neighboring country in most cases. And that's the first step that gets them away, out of harm's way, into a safer place to take the next step.
And so, Andrea, could you tell us from there, so after they fled their home country, either due to civil war or persecution, they end up in a refugee camp. What's the process of moving from a refugee camp to ending up somewhere like Amarillo, Texas?
Okay, so the process from refugee camp. So once they are in refugee camp, they apply for refugee status. They go through a complete vetting process, and this is a very widespread vetting process. They go through intensive background checks. They go through orientations. They go through trainings. They go through quite a bit before they are actually allowed to come into the United States. So once they are approved and they're allowed to come in, if they have a sponsor, then we know that they will be guaranteed to come here to Amarillo with that sponsor, which is usually a family member that states that they are going to help them and help the agencies provide services for the family when they get here. Others that come as free cases, which means they don't have sponsors, they are actually sent to anywhere in the U.S. or also any other country that are accepting refugees. So it's not really a choice that they get to where they get to go. So we are glad, for all the help and support that we have here in Amarillo for those families that come here that do not have anyone.
Jeff, could you tell me what are some of the things that Catholic Charities does to help refugees as they settle here in Amarillo?
Well, much like RST, we kind of work very well together. We have a reception and placement. So when they first arrive on the airplane, we meet them. We help get them set up in an apartment, get their kids registered in school. We take them to public health to make sure they're caught up on shots. Although in most cases, a lot of that happens in their home country. But anything that's left over, we take over here. We offer ESL classes. We offer social support. We do cultural orientation to help them become oriented to our way of doing things, so that kind of avoid those clashes of the big differences.
Well, I know as a church here that works with refugees, it's been great to work in partnership with you, and we appreciate the great job you do with refugees here in Amarillo, and thank you for being with us today.
My name's Tepa, and my last name Kel Kamharn. I came from Thailand about 18 years ago. I am a minister in the North Amarillo Church of Christ to work with the refugees from Burma. But before, we don't have any current Burmese refugees. I work in the company, and after that, the refugees settle here, and no one work with them. Yeah, I volunteer, and that the church assigned me to work with the refugee.
Well, I know overall the experience of moving to a new culture is difficult.
Yeah.
Just everything about it is challenging.
Yeah.
But it's also really good. Many people talk so proudly about their American citizenship. Can you tell me about some ways that your family has enjoyed being here, some benefits that you have had by living and growing up here in America?
Yeah, I love United States. Yeah, I'm proud to be U.S. citizen. Yeah, and right now my whole family to be citizen, because of why we proud freedom, not freedom to do the wrong way, but freedom to find the good way, opportunity. But in here, all the kids, they have opportunities equal. Yeah, I love it.
What are some ways that you help the community here? What are some responsibilities that you have to help them adjust to life in the city?
The refugees settle here. The first time they came here, they feel like this is the new land. They don't know exactly what they can do. If they find someone familiar with them and make them comfortable, they will put their hearts to trust. And that's why when they move here, they heard people to speak Thai. They feel, oh, this is a friend. This is a people we can trust. They can help us. That's why I start to work with them like this.
So because of your Thai language, you were able to bond with Karen people here, even in Amarillo.
Yeah.
Is that what caused you to join and serve on the Karen Community Association board?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tepa, I just want to thank you for how you serve refugees in the city, for how you serve Karen people. I'm grateful that you took the time to teach me today about these communities and cultures. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you to invite me.
Thanks, Ryan, for that interview. Tepa certainly found a way to give back to other refugees in our community. For a perspective on Amarillo's experience with refugees, Russ sat down with Mayor Ginger Nelson. And later, you'll hear from Assistant Police Chief Ken Funtek.
I'm here with Ginger Nelson, the mayor of Amarillo. And Ginger, you know, we've heard a lot in the news about how Amarillo has one of the highest percentages of refugees per capita of any city in the nation. How have the refugees being here in Amarillo impacted our city?
Well,
There's so many ways you could answer that question. Culturally, they bring a richness that we wouldn't otherwise have. And anytime you sit down to a table, the more viewpoints you can bring to that table, I'm convinced the better any solution that comes out of that table will be, because it'll be more diverse. It'll be that much more well thought out from different perspectives. So I love the idea that they broaden our schema. They broaden our schema on food, on holidays, on just culture in general. But just from an economic point of view, they are a tremendous impact here. We struggle to have enough people in our workforce. We traditionally have the lowest workforce, lowest unemployment numbers in the state. And so the fact that they come in willing to work, wanting to work, and they're very coachable and they're good workers is so important to our local businesses who need more people in our workforce.
Wow. Well, I know you've also done a lot with the Refugee Language Project and actually meeting refugees and dialoguing with them. Can you explain or tell us a little about some of your interactions in that environment?
Well, I was very honored to be invited as a guest speaker one night to a Refugee Language Project meeting. And one of my takeaways from that was just how challenging it is to come into our society. Yes, we're Texans. Yes, we're friendly and we love people, but we're very set in our ways and we don't know what we don't know. So we have traditions, we have expectations, many of them are unspoken, and to just land here in that is an extreme challenge. They don't speak our language. Sometimes, and by our language, I mean Texan, you know? So they have to learn the language barrier. That's a challenge. The cultural barriers that come behind that are challenging. Just, we shake hands here. We laugh loud here. You know, these are off-putting in some societies, but they have to learn to embrace them as friendliness, you know. It's challenging to learn our systems. As I sat and they asked questions about the government, they wanted, you know, they don't understand, oh, that's a city government issue. That's a state government issue. That's a federal government issue. And so I left there overwhelmed for them thinking, okay, I went to school for 12 years and was taught how our systems of government work, and each one's different. Then you go to Oklahoma, well, Oklahoma has a different set of systems. So it's pretty overwhelming to sit back and think about what they're expected to learn in the time frame they're expected to learn it in and the conditions. Many of them have come from heartbreaking situations of extreme duress and trauma, and yet they're still here. They're walking, they're breathing, they're willing to learn, they want good things for their family. And so, you know, just to turn that question and really end on a high note, I left there also knowing while they are so different from me and they bring an opportunity to enrich our community because of their differences, there are also many similarities. They're moms, they're dads, they like to laugh, they want good things for their family, and they want to contribute to our community. It's just going to take a minute for them to figure out how to plug in to be part of our message here in Amarillo. But I would just say to the refugee community, I love having you here. I love that you are my neighbors. I love that you are Amarilloans, because you are, whether you've been here a day or whether you've been here 20 years. You are part of us. And you may have the story of being a refugee, but I don't see that as a label that you have to wear to be part of our city. You're just an Amarilloan. And you may not laugh loud, you may shake hands differently, but I welcome that you are part of our culture, and I think you make us better.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all you do to welcome refugees to our city. I'm here with the Assistant Chief of Police in Amarillo, Ken Funtek, And I just wanted to ask you a little bit about how the police department interacts and serves the refugees here in Amarillo.
Sure, absolutely. Our primary outreach to our refugee community is through our neighborhood police officer unit in Eastridge. They have a lot of interaction in that community, and we just try to really have a face-to-face contact and interaction with them. And part of that is problem solving, finding out what issues they're having in their neighborhood. It might be a problem house, different things like that, whether it's drug activity or junk cars, things like that. But really it's about trying to build relationships and building trust. And I think by having our officers in that area really helps to do that. Getting to know officers a little bit one-on-one. A lot of the countries our refugees come from, the police are not very trusted. And that's a little bit of a burden for us. And obviously there's language barriers as well with all the dialects and languages that are spoken in Amarillo. So sometimes that's an issue as well. So my hope for the MPO unit is to just continue to build on that. And, you know, we have a lot of other areas of town, not just Eastridge, where our refugees are at. So I think we have to, my goal is to kind of form a coalition and trying to do further outreach. While we might not have NPO officers in all of those areas, but at least if we can get some kind of coalition and a voice and let them feel like they have a voice and an avenue, and where they're not afraid to pick up a phone and talk to me if they're having issues, or one of my other leaders in the department, and just try to work with them and hopefully build on that to where we can have more events. Again, reaching out even outside of Eastridge to the other areas we have refugees.
Wow, that's great. And you were sharing with me earlier that your father actually was an immigrant to America. Tell me a little about that.
Yeah, that's right. I'm first generation American. My father escaped from Hungary in 1956 when they had the revolution with Russia. Had my dad and actually two of his brothers that escaped. My grandparents sent them out about a week and a half apart through the Underground Railroad. They were afraid that if they all three went together and they were captured, they would be killed. So that had a big impact on me. And my father was just so proud to be an American as he came over and built a life. You can't tell from the way I talk, but I grew up in New Jersey till I was 12. And it was a melting pot of Czechs and Poles and Germans and Hungarians and a lot of Puerto Rican immigrants. And I just think it's so colorful, and they add so much value and culture to the city of Amarillo. So it's to be embraced. You know, we have issues with barriers and languages and things of that nature, but we can work together, build those relationships. And I just think Amarillo is such a great place. They just add so much to our community.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing about the refugee community here in Amarillo.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Russ.
How great to hear the Assistant Chief's personal experiences as the son of refugees. Par Chin also came to America with her parents. Here's her inspiring story.
Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to know you better. But before that, will you just please tell me your name?
My name is Par Chin.
Okay, Par. And what do you do?
I just graduated high school, and right now I'm a translator at the health department, and that's about all I do right now.
That's great. Congratulations on graduating. What are your future plans? Are you going to school somewhere?
I'm going to Baylor University this coming August, and I'm hoping to study biology there.
Wow, what led you into that field?
Ever since I was young, coming from a country with an underdeveloped medical system, I've always wanted to become a doctor so that one day I could go back and travel to other third world countries to make a difference. So it's always been a goal.
So tell me, what country are you from?
I am from Myanmar, a small state, Chin State there. So that's my motherland.
Tell me more about your family.
I am the oldest of 4 siblings. Ever since I was young, I was the communicator for my family, translating because my parents left everything behind and they came to a world that was new to them and struggled with language barriers and a new lifestyle. So I was the communicator for my family, and
it's been hard with my parents with the lack of education and the language barrier, but I've translated many times for them, and it's been a long journey, but my parents are adapting slowly too.
What is something that your parents have really worked to make sure that they pass on to you as a young person?
I think how much they value family and education, because when we came here in the United States, we had nothing except each other and the opportunity to grow up in a country rich with education. So they really pass on to me to value family, because when wealth can be taken away, many materialistic things can be taken away, but family will always be there. And with education, if you pursue it, no one can take your wisdom away.
And I'm sure your parents are very proud of you.
Thank you.
Going off to college. Are you the first person to go to university in your family?
I am the first to graduate and to go to university.
What has it been like to be a bridge between people your parents' generation, from that age group, and then those who were born here?
Each summer we have Chin School at our church, so I've had the opportunity to teach there, and I think with the older generation, they really value our culture, our language, and our everything about us, like the food we eat. But here with my younger siblings too, they talk to each other in English, and they want to eat like fast food and a lot of American food because that's what they're used to at school. So it's really hard finding a balance between that. But I think with the opportunities like celebrating Chin National Day and the opportunities to go to school in the summer to learn Chin has really helped the younger generation keep the culture alive. I sometimes find myself forgetting my culture, but my parents always remind me, don't ever forget. And when I came to the United States, I actually didn't know how to read or write in Chin. So I've learned through those summer schools at church to write and read in Chin.
And you mentioned Chin National Day. Can you tell me more about that?
So Chin National Day, it was first started in 1948. So this year marked the 72nd anniversary of it. It symbolizes the democracy and the Chin State being a united nation, being united as a nation and as a people culturally. And although our fight for democracy and for peace, it's still being fought, and a lot of our cultures are still being threatened. I think this Chin National Day has helped us to preserve many of our cultures.
So what are some of the things that you do at Chin National Day?
So for the past couple of years, I've had the opportunity to do some of our traditional dances, and we've taken part in celebrating it through our food and wearing our cultural clothes. And I've also participated in the fashion show.
What is one way that it's difficult to be a Chin person here in this city?
Just the fact that the language barrier has really lowered their self-esteem sometimes and made them feel like they're inferior, even though sometimes I admire them for that, because they were able to leave everything behind, and that has made them stronger than many other people I've known. But to our parents, sometimes they feel like they're inferior because of that, and I think that's really hard for them.
Thank you for serving your community.
Appreciate it. It's an honor.
For representing the Chin people here today. We're proud to have you live here with us.
Thank you.
We really are, and we are excited to send you off to university in the fall.
Thank you. I'm pretty excited, and thank you for having me today.
Welcome to the Amarillo Museum of Art. My name is Dina Craighead, and I'm the Curator of Education. On behalf of the museum, I want to say how grateful and excited we are to be able to participate in World Refugee Day in this virtual event that you're watching right now. We're going to take you inside the museum, into our galleries. We're going to look at art and exhibitions with the idea that art is a universal language that we all understand and that we can all relate to. The newest exhibition at the museum is Red, a selection of artworks from AMOA's permanent collection. Red has always carried cultural meaning and symbolism. As a color dating back to as early as Paleolithic times, it's been used to express a variety of emotions, from anger and passion to death and life. One of the most significant pieces in the Red exhibition is Gaia's Gift by Amarillo native Trudy Craft. Craft studies and is inspired by Japanese techniques, especially those that relate to textiles. And in looking at this work, you can see that influence. She layers gouache and watercolor and ink in ways that really mimic embroidery and quilting. Red continues on to the first floor galleries with some of the most substantial and largest works in the exhibition. A permanent part of the museum's galleries is the Dr. and Mrs. William T. Price collection of Asian art. Over the past 50 years, Dr. and Mrs. Price have collected sculpture, prints, paintings, textiles, and decorative arts from South and Southeast Asia, Japan, and throughout the Middle East. The Prices have generously donated over 300 works of art to the Amoa Permanent Collection, including significant Buddhist and Hindu sculptures. On behalf of the Amarillo Museum of Art, I'd like to thank you for taking time to join us on a virtual tour and for helping AMOA be part of the universal language of art in our community. We invite you to join us at the museum as we slowly begin to reopen our doors, and please remember, admission is always free of charge.
Thanks so much, Dina, for showing us such amazing art. It really is universal. Now, hear how one Amarillo elementary school celebrates the many cultures of its students and works with parents to improve learning.
I'm here with Jeannie Baca. She's the principal at Eastridge Elementary. Jeannie, can you tell me a little about your school? How many languages are spoken here at Eastridge?
We have 21 languages, but when you factor in dialects, we actually have 38.
Wow, that's amazing. And what do you do to help celebrate the cultures here at Eastridge Elementary?
Well, there's two big things we do every year. We have a multicultural festival. It's where every culture gets to celebrate their cultural dance. And so this is actually our 22nd year we've done it. So we have, whether you're Hispanic or Burmese or Thai or Lao or Somalian, you get to do your dance, and we perform for the community. We perform for the school board. It's something we've done every year for the last 22 years.
Wow, that's amazing. And tell me a little about what you do to help accommodate the different groups that are represented here at Eastridge.
One of the things we finally figured out we needed to do was we needed to have parent conferences by groups. So 2 years ago, we started having monthly Somalian parent meetings and Asian parent meetings because even culturally, they have different needs. And so by meeting with them separately, we have made huge gains when it comes to discipline, academics, even just small things like teaching parents about bedtime and technology usage and things that make a huge impact at school, but we need their help at home. So those have been two big things that we've done the last 2 years.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I've been out here to Eastridge many times and seen you guys are doing an amazing job with these kids. Thank you for how you impact the community here.
My name is Diana Majok. I'm from South Sudan.
Can you tell me anything about the journey? What it was like to come from South Sudan and ending up here in Amarillo, Texas?
My country was in war, and then in that war, it was too many fights between North and South. I never stopped learning about it every day. It just came out in my mind, what I went through, how I ran in the bush, how I've been kidnapping, what is seeing killing, people who suffering right now, like they having, some people don't know, they don't have a school as me. I never been in a school. So the life is not easy there. And we came to Egypt. From Egypt, I was a migrant to the United States. Sponsored by YMCA, they sponsored me here in U.S. Come to the Houston, Texas. I've been there for 5 years. And then again, another crashes start. Hurricane Rita hit Houston, and then I just start running again. 2 days in a car, driving away till I end up in Amarillo, Texas. God plan. So that is my journey.
Wow.
Yes, with my family. My husband and
your
my kids.
family, please, I know you have a wonderful family, a supportive family, and children you are so proud of. Will you tell me about them?
I'm a mother. I'm married for my wonderful husband, Lual Majok. I have 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. So I have 3 finished college, 1 in UT, and 1 finished OSU, and then another one this year with Abilene Christian University.
You never went to school yourself?
I never went to school till I come to United States. I studied ESL, English, and I proved my English. Let me say, I'm still working on it so hard, trying it. And I think I will say was God miracle. I proved it here in Amarillo, Texas. ESL through churches, a sister of Christ helping me, a brother, to prove my English.
No, I think you're doing a fantastic job. I really do.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I know we're talking about some of these wonderful things, ways that you still celebrate and cling to your rich heritage here. Mm-hmm. But I know it's not all easy.
No.
What is one way that it's difficult to be Dinka here in America?
I don't find that when I come here. Nothing make me like difficult to be Dinka. So I always so happy and I always feel welcoming. Either if I go to church, I'm welcome to pray in Dinka. If I go to any store, no one asks me if I speak what language or if I just say in English, no, like something, I don't call it out good. No one who, like, I'm so thankful, and I've been here, and I just always say it. I say, I'm so thankful for this country. That's why I learn English.
I know it's been difficult, and yet you have had the strength to overcome. What has given you the strength to overcome the challenges you've faced here?
I just know it's all in one. It's Jesus Christ. I realize when I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, it makes everything to me. It gives me strength every day. Because He did give me joy and love, forgiveness, and happiness. I just so thankful. So that's what made me to overcome all this.
Diana, I just want to thank you for spending time with me today, for teaching me about your story and about Dinka culture so that other people can learn about the diverse cultures and celebrate and honor them here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad to have me too. And thank you for having me.
Deanna has the most beautiful smile, doesn't she? And her positive attitude is so uplifting. Next, we'll hear some powerful music from an Amarillo choir and then meet a couple devoted to helping refugees succeed.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Claudia Stewart, and we are here tonight with the Hood Mass Ensemble. The Hood Mass Ensemble is part of the Amarillo Hood Mass Choir, and they've been celebrating in Amarillo for over 26 years, accompanied by Donnell Hill. Enjoy. Jesus, 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 what a wonder you are. Jesus, 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 what a wonder you are. We call you Jesus, 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 what a wonder you are. Oh, Jesus, what a wonder you are. Lion of the tribe of Judah, what a wonder you are. Lion of the tribe of Judah, what a wonder you are. Lion of the tribe of Judah, what a wonder you are. Oh, Jesus, what a wonder you are. Oh, Lily of the valley, what a wonder you are. Lily of the valley, what a wonder you are. Lily of the valley, what a wonder you are. Oh, Jesus, what a wonder you are. Oh, Jesus, 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 Jesus. We call you Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Heaven's faith, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Oh, Jesus, what a wonder, what a wonder you are.
I'm here with Nolan and Ann Clark. They're the leaders of the English program for refugees at Paramount Baptist Church. And they've been doing this for 24 years. And Ann, could you tell me a little bit about how you got started teaching refugees English here in Amarillo?
Sure. We were actually teaching English classes in Canyon, and we noticed that many new refugees were coming into Amarillo. And so we started looking at the possibility of starting classes. First Baptist had classes on Thursday morning and Sunday afternoon. So we thought if we offered classes at a different time, people would have more opportunity to go to English classes. Maybe they could go to both and learn their English faster. We learned pretty quickly that we needed to have classes morning and night because of the shift work. Many of them work shifts at various businesses in the area. And that was how we got started.
Can you tell me one of your success stories of one of your students here at Paramount?
I think of one lady because she's still active here at Paramount. She came to English classes 7 years. And they do that many times. They continue coming, even though they've gone through all the levels, they continue coming. And her English improved considerably. She got a job at the cafeteria where her son went to school, and she started working in the cafeteria. And about 5 years after she quit coming to the English classes, she came and asked me if she could help with a class. And so she took the teacher training and she helped with classes that year. Then she became manager at the cafeteria, and she didn't have time to do that anymore. And now today she's working still in food service, but at the central office. So she's been quite successful. She still attends Paramount on Sunday, and she and her husband go to Paramount in Espanol, and their son is serving in the Army. Oh, wow. So pretty successful there.
That's amazing. Nolan, can you tell us about how many students come to Paramount for English classes, and how do you help them get here?
Well, we have about 300 students normally. We do that because we don't have space for more than that. But we do offer transportation for our students, and I think that's one reason we have a large number. We have about 16 drivers plus substitutes that help us. And then altogether, teachers, nursery workers, refreshment people, we have about 85 volunteers.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for the good work you do with refugees here in Amarillo.
Wow, the team at Paramount Baptist Church contributes so much toward making refugees feel at home here. You'll hear now from a pastor at another church who has grown close with refugees settled in Northeast Amarillo.
I'm here with Pastor Mike Garman. He's the pastor at Eastridge Baptist Church and runs the Mission Center out here. Pastor Mike, can you tell us a little about Eastridge and tell us how it's changed through the years?
Well, at the end of the Vietnam War, the air base was closed, and this became a place that was a natural place for refugees to settle. So many different refugee groups have settled here throughout the years because of that.
And so name a few of the groups that are here.
Several different language groups from Burma, especially, and then there's also a lot of people from Somalia here. And then we still have Laotians and Cambodians, and just that's the main groups probably right now.
Okay. And I heard that you were able to go to Burma and visit some of your church members' families. Can you tell me a little about that?
Yeah, it was a real eye-opener. I got to take our associate pastor back after he left there 25 years ago as fleeing for his life. And in Yangon, they have all of the amenities there, but the farther you get outside, the less they have. They spend 2 hours a day in grueling heat going to work and coming back and then repeating the next day. And so I think that's why they are such excellent workers, hard workers, and become such amazing citizens. They're really grateful for what we have here.
And tell me a little about what the Mission Center does here in Eastridge.
Well, during the normal times, we try to provide a safe place for children to come and to get a meal and to work with groups that come during the school year, and then church groups that come from out of town and stay here, and to make sure that they are well fed. Now it's mainly just feeding the different people who are out of work and need some assistance.
Well, thank you so much for the great work you do with the refugees here in Eastridge, and we just pray God will bless you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Isn't it great to learn about the connections being made in our community? We've had so many moments this hour to learn about refugees here and the people and programs dedicated to helping them succeed. The stories of refugees often are stories of heartbreaking fear and hopeful transformation. We can all learn a lot from our new neighbors. I've asked Haley back to discuss the music piece that will close the show. Haley, welcome again. This piece has special relevance to Refugee Day. Tell me about that.
It does, yes. So this is a piece which is a sonata for horn and piano by composer Paul Hindemith. Hindemith was a German composer, and he was living in Germany during the 1930s. However, he actually had to flee Germany at that time because his wife had Jewish ancestry. He fled to Switzerland, and he composed this sonata in 1939. The symphony musicians wanted to choose this piece to present for you today because it does have that relevance of Hindemith's experience along with the refugees in Amarillo today.
Thank you, Haley. Enjoy.